The Mose Knows podcast, hosted by Cory Mose, greatly appreciates you for tuning into this week's episode. Enjoy.
Good morning.
And good evening, beautiful people. We got a stacked day today for y'all. Of course, Texas versus Georgia reaction. I'm going to bring on my guy, Cedric Golden from the Awesome American Statesman, to discuss what all went down last Saturday and how the heck does Texas rebound against that game as they face against Vanderbilt on Saturday, this upcoming Saturday, I should say. The Commodores are ranked for the first time, I feel like, in my lifetime. They're in the top 25. And so it's not going to be no cakewalk like the years of the past. If you go up to Nashville this time around, you're going to have to fight. And to do that, you're going to have to also be the guy who's a hometown kid at running back in Cedric Alexander. So should be a great contest on Saturday for the Longhorns. And also big news that dropped early this morning. If you're a fantasy owner and you were up that early like a sicko, you probably got rewarded for that because DeAndre Hopkins is now a Kansas City Chief. And they just seem to keep getting better and better and keep getting assets, Deon, and it's just not fair, right? They're still undefeated, by the way. Let's not forget that they're still the best team in the league, and they just added a top-tier weapon in D-Hop. So we'll be discussing that as we do our NFL Pick'em, and congrats to Deon. I'm going to give you flowers. You got more of the NFL Pick'em last week than I did, so congrats. Don't rub it in my face, but just know I'm still in the lead, though, so I'm still a top dog. You know what I'm saying? And the Georgia Bulldogs were top dogs. Yeah? Oh, we're tied?
I think we're tied.
Okay. Respect. Speaking about top dogs, Georgia was top dogs on Saturday. What do you think, Deon? When you were watching the game, Georgia beats Texas 30-15. I would say the score doesn't replicate what the actual game felt like. It felt closer than that in the second half. But just from your outside perspective, what do you think?
From a casual perspective, when I first saw the score, I didn't get to watch the game. I was like, oh, wow, these guys put up a stinker. Then I watched the highlights from the game, and I was like, oh, no, just the quarterbacks put up stinkers. The quarterbacks were, it was definitely a mid-off on both ends. The defense, Texas defense did not play as bad as, it may seem when they put up 30. But, yeah, if Quinn just plays halfway decent, I think Texas actually finds a way to beat Georgia. But, yeah, it was just Quinn didn't have much time. He looked uneasy. He was throwing off his back foot. A lot of stuff was underthrown. And, it begs the question of, that oblique is probably still bothering him. So that was kind of my big takeaway. Like, yeah. And, from my small circle of people talking about Texas, they said that, hey, this Texas team is legit, but their biggest question mark is Quinn. And he kind of proved their point this Saturday. So, and Coach Sark, you definitely, the little movie moment you tried to do with Arch, please don't ever do that. That was
weird. It was weird. Out of nowhere, and then putting him back in the game in the second half.
It was a good way to lighten the mood to put him in there, seeing that he was not ready for that moment. Especially, why would you do that to him? So yeah, but yeah, that was my biggest takeaway.
Have you seen that clip of them on the sideline together, Deon?
Yeah,
they just look lost.
Nobody knows. I'm sure Arch was like, "You sure? You want me to go in right now?" Well, I guess so. Definitely. Why not? Right?
All right, I guess we'll see what happens. It's not like Quinn's getting killed out there.
Yeah. So, like I said, that Georgia D line. They're rushing 3, rushing 4.
Yeah, they came to play.
They're still in the backfield. So they definitely.
It was disappointing. It was disappointing.
And like everybody's been saying about having a 12 team playoff, that the one loss doesn't really affect you, but it is definitely the wake up call that takes you that, hey, this is not the Big 12 anymore. We're not playing these smaller teams, a Baylor, Kansas State, all of that. We're playing the real YNs over there. So, you got to bring your A game every game. So, but Cory, would you tell me what you thought? What's your thoughts on the game? Somebody that's in the locker room that's got the inside scoop on these things.
Yeah, I mean, I think going to the game, the whole conversation was his O-line being able to play against a top-tier defense like Georgia, and they just didn't really show up. And the other question was, is this Texas defense ranked number 1 in the country? Is that a worthy ranking? Do they deserve it? Have they played anybody to even test them yet? And I think that question got answered as well on Saturday. I think they are legit. I think they proved that they can hang with the best offenses in the nation, and they are a top-tier defense. And I think you can see that just by the way this game went. You know, of course, Georgia put up 30 points, but Deon, let me show you let me tell you how many yards Georgia gained on each of their scoring drives, right? So first scoring drive, 13 yards, second one, 13 yards, third one, 34 yards, fourth one, 25 yards, and they scored a touchdown after gaining 4 yards. So 13 yards, 34 yards, 25 yards, 4 yards. Those are the scoring drives for Georgia. So that shows you at what part of the field that they were able to get the ball in. And so the fact that Georgia only scored 3 touchdowns out of 6 possessions where you have the ball in Texas' side of the field, that's a good job by the defense. You were able to hold them to a field goal instead of giving up touchdowns. You got to give them credit for that. And the fact that you even got put in those situations, it sucks in general because the exact same thing happened against Oklahoma. Texas wasn't able to move the ball. Oklahoma got the ball on Texas' side of the ball. But the difference is Oklahoma's offense isn't like Georgia's. And so I just felt like the Texas defense stood up. You know, they did their job. They gave up one real drive, and that was late in the fourth quarter when Georgia needed it. It got to a one-score game. Georgia goes 89 yards down the field, scored a touchdown. Part of that was that flea flicker to Oscar Delp, the tight end. And so one real drive by the Bulldogs against this Texas defense. And if I were to tell Sark that Carson Beck throws 3 picks, no touchdowns, he would have thought that they would win the game. But instead, no, they got beat by double digits because this offense looks so pedestrian. Including the offensive line, including the running game, including Quinn Ewers, and he may be the biggest factor in that. And it's unfortunate because, you know, going into this season, Quinn was supposed to be the guy. He was supposed to take that next step and become a top-tier prospect, if not the best quarterback prospect in this class. That's why he came back this year. But we continue to see these inefficiencies in his feet. He's not stepping up in the pocket. He looks jittery. He also just looks uncomfortable whenever any type of pressure gets around him. The question is, how much is that his oblique injury? You got to play that into factor. How much is that just nerves? How much is that he really does get rattled? I mean, that's all questions that only he knows and maybe Coach Sark knows, and that's probably why Sark took him out. But at the end of the day, if you're going to be considered a Heisman hopeful, you would think that he would start to look like one in year 3 in this offense, and he just doesn't. And so this team is going to go as far as Quinn can take them. And you see the highs of Quinn, like last year in the Big 12 championship game against Oklahoma State, where he looked phenomenal. Then you see the lows of Quinn, like 2 years ago when he played against Washington in the Alamo Bowl, or even heck on Saturday, man. That was a real big low for him, or even the week before that against Oklahoma. And so these games are just so sporadic where he looks good and when he looks bad, and you just don't know what you're going to get out of Quinn each and every week. And so we're going to find out on Saturday, though. This Vanderbilt team isn't scrubs. It's not the old teams of the past. It is a legit football program that beat Alabama a couple weeks ago. And so it's going to be interesting to see if they're going to come out with a chip on their shoulder or if they're going to kind of start off flat again for the third straight game on offense. And so it's going to mean a lot for Quinn to get on a hot start, I feel like, on Saturday. If he's able to get the ball rolling, get a couple touchdowns on the first 2 drives, that's going to play a factor how we want to see the rest of that game. But if he continues to struggle in the first 2 drives, and let's say Vandy is able to get at least a field goal up, it's going to get very interesting because at Nashville and that Commodore team, they're not bad, man. They're not bad at all. They're actually a really good team. And so it's going to be a good game on Saturday. You know, we're speaking about how they're going to bounce back this game, and I was able to ask a lot of players questions about, is it weird to say, is it weird to say that you can be more dangerous after a loss? And one comment that stuck out to me the most as I asked all the guys that question on Monday was Michael Tabb's answer. He kind of brought up a boxing analogy that I thought was brilliant. And anytime we talk to Tabb, he always gives great sound bites. But this was very intriguing to hear Michael Tabb talk about something that Coach Sark has been preaching in the locker room after that loss to Georgia.
What I'll say about that, good question. What I'll say about that is champions never have a clean face. Muhammad Ali never walked out of a fight looking all pretty faced. He always had a bump or a bruise on his face. He always had a bloody nose or a black eye. But everybody knows Muhammad Ali was one of the best fighters to ever walk on this planet. And so to be a champion, you're gonna get knocked in the mouth a couple times. How are you gonna respond? How are you gonna stand up? Coach Sark said it this morning. I'd rather get knocked out round 6 and get up and win in round 12 than get knocked out in round 12. So that's all I'll say to that question.
Rather get knocked out in the 6th and get back up and win it in the 12th than get knocked out in the 12th. I mean, that's real stuff from Michael Taft there, and it's facts, right? You want to be able to, like, any boxing match.
They for sure got knocked out. So.
Here you go, bro. Here you go.
Let's see what round it was. Was it the 12th or the 6th?
Hey, that's a good point. What round is it for this Texas team? Because it could have been the 12th. Let's see what happens on Saturday, because Vanderbilt is a good team. And so if they're back-to-back losses, that narrative with the Texas team is going to change a lot. And so, yeah, let's see if this is the 6th round matchup or knockout or a 12th round knockout for this team. And he's totally right, though. You know, a lot of these good matches, a lot of these good boxing matches, you know, the great fighters, especially the heavyweights, man, they take some big hits, but they're able to stand there and deliver some blows on their own afterwards. Now, if you Mayweather, you don't get touched at all, you know. So, I mean, you really like that if you Mayweather. But the thing about it, in college football, is not the case. And so I think that's a perfect example. And that's why Michael Taft is a perfect leader for this team, because he's able to get the most out of the guys on that defensive side of the ball. And speaking about that, like, the defensive side of the ball was amazing on Saturday. I mean, they were able to hold Georgia multiple times from scoring touchdowns. They actually caused 3 turnovers. 2 of those turnovers came from Austin Zone, Jahdae Barron. And so it's just a culmination of what's been happening so far this year for Jahdae. After moving to cornerback, because he was a star position last year, everyone thought, okay, they're going to move him to corner. What's he going to look like? He's going to be less in the tackling mode and more in coverage. And so he's been proving that he can do it all. Like, he can tackle, he can cover, he can rally, he can play free safety if he needs to. And all of these factors are the reasons why he came back to win the Jim Thorpe Award. And the award, if you don't know, is awarded to the best defensive back in the country. And so after this game, you know, Jordan Whittington, his former teammate, who's now a Los Angeles Ram, he tweeted out, Jahdae Barron, ... best DB in the country. And so I asked Jahdae straight up on Monday, are you the best DB in the country? Here's what he had to say. Are you the best DB in the country right now?
You know, everybody has their own opinions and things like that. I believe I'm the best DB in the world. So, you know, I try to go out there and perform at a high level and try to make plays at different positions and things like that, so I can have the right to say that at the end of the season. So I'm just trying to just keep stacking and keep stacking.
So he doesn't agree he's the best DB in the country because he thinks he's the best DB in the world. Oh, man, gotta love the confidence by Jahdae. And honestly, it's well-deserved because he's been balling out this year, and I hope he continues to do that because, man, an Austin kid playing for the Longhorns to win the Jim Thorpe Award, wearing that special number 7 would be honestly amazing to cover. It would be a dope story, and hopefully helps him get to that first-round money that I feel like he deserves. And so, yeah, I love the confidence from Jahdae. And Deon, do you like guys being that confident on the mic and talking? You know what I'm saying?
Look, the Dax, the Quins, the Mahomes, you know, those guys are cool. They can give you the right answer. But yeah, I love some personality. I think everybody wants to hear personality. You know, of course, you got to have the media right answers. But yo, if you feel that way, let us know.
Yeah.
Let us know.
Yeah.
I mean, we love competitive sports. We love to hear how you guys truly feel. So yeah, I mean, give us fans fuel our fire so we can talk our ish for y'all. Like, just give us a little bit so we can. Man, y'all heard what he said. Y'all heard what the man said. The best in the world, not in the country. The best in the world. So, yeah, I love it. I love it.
Yeah, me too, man. 2 picks against Georgia. You can talk whatever you want, man. I just think that was a beautiful game by that defense. We'll see. We'll see if they're able to keep the ball rolling on that defensive side of the ball against Vanderbilt, against a very weird Diego Pavia at quarterback. I mean, this kid, he's a baller, and he's a winner, and he's gritty. He's everything that you would want the characteristic of your quarterback to be and the leader of your team to be. He does things very off script, though. So it's kind of weird because if you watch him play, it's like you're supposed to make this play or you're supposed to make this throw. And he's like, nah, I'm going to do something totally out of whack, and it's going to go for 50 yards. He's that type of player that does everything off script. But sometimes when you do that against a really good defense, you can get yourself in trouble. So interested to see how this chess match goes next week against Vanderbilt. But for right now, I'm going to bring in my guy from the All-American Statesman, Cedric Golden. He joined us for the pod to talk about the game against Georgia, his thoughts. Also, he was in the press conference room when Quinn Ewers was on the podium. And I just wanted to ask him about how did Quinn look after being pulled from the game and having to come back in the game. And Ced also gave his two cents about this matchup against Vanderbilt. So here's our convo with Ced Golden. All right, so now we're joined by one of my favorites, one of my mentors, I feel like, and also a legend in the game, Cedric Golden. Man, I'm just honored to have you on from the All-American Statesman, dude. Like, it's ever since I got into this market, I tell this story all the time. It's just like the love that I received from you and, of course, like Danny Davis and guys like that in our group chat. Like, I appreciate that a lot. Just as a young black man coming into this market, knowing that the market is mostly white, and just considering me in that stake to put me into that group, like, I'm honored to know that, and I'm just honored to be able to call you a friend. So thank you so much for joining my pod for the first time. And how's your morning been going?
Man, the morning's great, and I'm going to say to your audience, Cory has a light about him, and people gravitate to him, and it's not anything that he's doing that's extra, just kind of who he is. And we have some really talented young black men in this business. It's not, the black media is not big covering Texas, but man, Cory and Jeff Jones and Danny Davis, Eric Henry, those are some really, really talented young journalists, and the business is going to be in great hands. Man, I can't do this forever. So when we pass that baton, and I hope it's later rather than sooner, but when we pass that baton, the beat's going to be in good hands.
I really appreciate that, Ced. And you spoke about how you've been doing this for a minute now. How long have you been doing this? If you can put a number to it.
I started in my hometown paper in Tyler in 1993, and 6 months into the job, my boss was covering the Super Bowl. It was the Cowboys and the Atlanta
Cowboys in the Super Bowl.
The Buffalo Bills. I know you guys weren't born yet. You guys weren't born yet, but this really happened. You need to Google it.
No way.
It happened. The Bills
Seems like
and the Cowboys in a Super Bowl rematch at the brand new Georgia Dome. And I had just gotten hired like 6 months earlier. My boss calls into the newspaper and goes, "I got extra credential to the Super Bowl."
Wow. And
of course, there were 7 writers on staff, and if there was such a thing as a totem pole, I was 7th in the pecking order. But everybody else had beats, and I didn't have a beat yet. And he said, "Well, Ced, if you want to come out and help me cover the Super Bowl, I've got an extra bed in the hotel. We can't pay for your flight, but we can pay for your meal." I had $250 in the bank, and I spent $240 of it to get a round trip ticket from Dallas to Atlanta.
Wow.
And I covered a Super Bowl 6 months in. I was like, oh man, I fell in love with that job. And the guys you see now are the guys that I met at the Super Bowl: Stephen A. Smith, Mike Tirico, those people, Andrew Kramer. We were all around the same age group, and so we were all kind of hanging out and just kind of taking it all in. It was great. That was my introduction to the business.
Hey, I would stick around too if I was able to do that for my first 6 months. That's dope, bro. Oh my goodness.
I've spent the last 30 years trying to get back to a Super Bowl. No, I've covered 4. So anytime it's in Texas, I figure out a way to get to it.
That's super cool, man. And how long you been covering the Longhorns specifically?
Okay, so I got hired in 99 to cover high schools at the Statesman, and I did that in the middle of 99, 2000, 2001. So in 2002, they put me on UT football and UT baseball. And so I did that through 05. And my last year as a beat writer was 2005. They won the national championship in baseball that summer, and then that fall they won it in football. And then I got promoted to columnist. I guess I was a good luck charm.
Hey, that was a big year. Over 20 plus years of experience covering the Longhorns, in case you don't know how to do math. So what he's about to say, kind
of like those guys you asked when how old were you when the Longhorns, like how old were you in 06? And none of those guys wanted to do that math.
They couldn't do subtraction. It's simple subtraction. But look, man, I get it. They had a lot of things going on. I know.
That hurt my heart.
I know.
They know how going on.
Well, they know how to read film. And look, they probably had a lot on their mind after they saw the tape, because what showed up on tape showed up on the field. Georgia's some dogs. And so I just want to get your opinion about after the game. What was your first thing that come to your mind? What are some storylines that you took away from that game from last Saturday?
Well, my biggest concern going in was Quinn Ewers. That was my biggest concern, and I did a couple of national things, and I said it's Quinn Ewers is the biggest concern, because even in the 34-3 win over Oklahoma, he didn't look comfortable in the pocket, guys. He didn't. He had a jitteriness about him, an unease about him, even when the pocket was clean, and then it manifested even more against Georgia, against some real dogs. And those are some real bulldogs who were some dogs who were still not happy they lost to Alabama. And that was their real introduction to SEC football, Corey. That was their real introduction to that. And for me, kind of a wake-up call. What you did against Oklahoma and the Mississippi State cowbell, that's not the real gig. This was the gig, and this is what they can expect when they play LSU eventually. When they play Arkansas, which is not that good, but they'll be ready, and definitely when they play A&M on November 30th, it's a different level. And the Longhorns going to have to step up their game, particularly up front. That offensive line, they were talking about the Joe Moore award. They went from Joe Moore to no more in that game. He gave up 7 sacks.
Yeah.
Gave up 7 sacks in like 8 games combined. So, they did not play well. And the good thing is, they're going to play better than they did. And the real good news is they're not going to have to see Georgia again until maybe the SEC championship game.
Yeah, that Nashville trip is going to be a battle. I mean, them Vandy boys, they coming. And they've been able to beat top-tier teams like Alabama, so they're not afraid of Texas. And on their home field, I'm interested to see how the Longhorns respond after a loss to Georgia. But I also just wanted to touch on Quinn again, because you mentioned the jitteriness on the field. I wanted to speak about off the field in the press conference room. Jeff and I, we had to go live because the game was on our station, so we weren't able to be in the press conference room. So just your experience talking to Quinn, being in that room while he was at the podium in the press conference, what did he seem like? What did he feel like? What was his emotions like in that press conference?
He never changes. He keeps it low key. He was Quinn. He understood that he didn't play well, and so he was very, very honest about that. I don't think he liked being pulled for Arch Manning, but those kind of things happen. And I like Steve Sarkisian and I respect him. I love what he's done here, but trying to tell me that if Arch had led them to a couple of touchdown drives at the end of the first half, that Quinn would have come back?
No, of course
Quinn wasn't coming back. Quinn wasn't coming back.
Of course
Quinn
not.
wasn't coming back. So,
of course not.
So, we're going to let you recalibrate. And, okay, yeah. Imagine if it was 23-14 at the half. And it was going to be, Quinn was like, Coach, I'm ready to go. Quinn, let me holler at you for a minute. Have a seat. Let's see if this little kid is cooking right now. Let's not turn off the skillet. Let young Arch cook. And so,
do you feel like Georgia that was the right decision to put Arch in there?
Well, I'm going to tell you this, Deon. He knows Quinn better than we do. He knows Quinn better than we do. What I saw was a quarterback who was rattled.
Yeah.
And so that was his decision. That's his. He's been around this kid for 3 years. He knows this kid. The one thing I will say is Carson Beck didn't need to reset. And he was playing just as bad as Quinn. He threw 3 picks.
They were both putting up stinkers.
Exactly. If I told you guys, if I told Sark before the game, okay, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to pull out my magic crystal ball. You're going to hold Georgia to under 300 yards of offense. And you're going to intercept Carson Beck 3 times. Sark's thinking that's a double-digit win.
Got to be.
Got to be a double-digit win. And so for them to just pull a no-show like they did in that first half, they can't keep doing that against quality competition because it's going to bite them in the butt again. And Arkansas is not that good, but you don't think 100,000 people are going to be in Fayetteville waiting? Great grandparents who remember how much they hated Texas back in the day. I didn't go on the first trip that Sark's first year when they went, but I was there in 2004. Man, those people hate Texas. Oh, they hate them. I mean, they hate them. We were walking from the press parking lot. It was like a quarter of a mile walk to the stadium. And they were lined on both streets, both sides of the street. And I was like, man, are we the Central High kids or what? I mean, from way back in the day, the black kids that was trying to go to school, because that's how hateful it was. And it wasn't all black people. So I was it was me, Kirk Bowles, and my colleague, and then our boss, and then one other writer, and several other people. And they were yelling all manner of stuff at us. And my boss, who's a white guy back then, John Bridges, looks at me and his voice goes up like 8 octaves. He goes, "Why are they yelling at us? We haven't done anything to them." And I'm like, dude, just keep walking. They know we're not from here. Yeah. They know we're not from here. He goes, we're not wearing burnt orange. I go, we're not wearing maroon either. Just keep walking. Mm-hmm. And it was the nastiest road environment I've ever been a part of. And Ohio State is a close second in 2005.
Yeah, they're going to have to get past Vanderbilt first before even thinking about going to that hostile environment in Fayetteville. And, going into this game, one thing I'm interested in with Vandy is the running game. I mean, it was non-existent on Saturday. Jaden Blue didn't even get a carry. Things like that worries me, Sed. Does that worry you as well when it comes to the running game?
No, not really, and I'm going to tell you why. Okay. Sark was trying to get Quinn off. He was trying to get him off. And so there were several times when he would have normally called a run, he was calling little dump-offs. Mm-hmm. I mean, Jalen caught 5 or 6 passes. He dumped them. He was because Quinn didn't have time to set his feet. But he was trying to get Quinn a layup. You know, you guys who follow basketball, you've seen a three-point shooter just cannot get a shot to fall. But man, they get to the hole and they make a layup, and the next thing you know, they're back making threes. He just wanted to get Quinn a layup, and I don't think he did that on purpose. I think Jaden Blue is gonna be a big factor in this upcoming game because he's kind of salty. He didn't get a lot of run this game, and Quintravian Wisner has kind of taken over that running back position. I love what Trey Wisner's doing.
Yeah, I mean, he brings toughness, man.
He is finishing runs, running through contact. I love what he's bringing to this offense. But I think they're going to really need the run game. And Sark likes to run to set up the pass. And so I think that it's going to be more important that they run it than Quinn play better, because I think Quinn's going to respond. He'll play better. Vanderbilt is much improved, but Vanderbilt's not Georgia.
Exactly. Deon, you had something?
I was just going to ask, do you think they have the personnel to be Georgia? Like, it's cool if we all think that they play better, but do you think they have what it takes at every position to beat them?
Yes, sir. They do. They do. But personnel, you don't win with a depth chart. I mean, you can't just sing it. You got to bring it. And they didn't bring it, man. They were overrun. They were out-schemed. They were out-efforted. They were outplayed, and in every phase. And Georgia, which I think is a good team, but their quarterback might keep them from winning a championship. Same with the Longhorns. Yeah. Same with the Longhorns. Your quarterback isn't your best player, and we can dispense with all the Heisman hype. Georgia has really good, talented guys on defense. So does Texas. Texas's offensive line was they were non-existent. They had a lot of administrative penalties, false starts, holdings, those kind of things add up. And they've had those for most of the year, but they've been able to win anyway because they've had more talent in those games, except for this one. This is a game where a big dog was barking louder than the other dog. And we know that Texas didn't play its best game. If Texas plays its best game and Georgia plays its best game, it's going to be a classic. And the guy with the ball is always the most important guy. Quinn Ewers can't play like that. Texas is not going to beat anybody if it plays like that.
Yeah, the O-line is very uncharacteristic. You know, can you speak about like how going into the game, there's a lot of Joe Moore Award talk. And honestly, it was kind of valid after their week 2 matchup against Michigan, going against 2 top-tier D tackles, held them in check. And also the way Kelvin Banks and Cam Williams has risen his stock, his draft stock. He's made a lot of money this year. And so going into the game against Georgia, there was a lot of talk about, okay, this is arguably the best offensive line in the country. And they just didn't play that well. And so do you think that was just more so an off night? Or was that a factor of Georgia just having dudes on the other end that Texas hadn't seen? And I thought it was also funny. We talked to Kelvin on Monday, and someone asked him, like, how do you think you played? He was like, I thought I played pretty decent. And if you look at the tape, he kind of did. I mean, there was one play where Quinn could have stepped up in the pocket on the 5-yard line. Kelvin gets the sack not awarded to him, but given to him. And he throws his arms up like, bro, step up. You know, I did my job. And so I think Kelvin felt like he played a good enough game, but everyone else in that O-line may have felt like they didn't. What do you think about that whole concept of, was that just a one-off game, or was that a telltale sign of they haven't played anybody?
It's combo platter, Corey. It's combo platter. An offensive line isn't one guy. I mean, Kelvin Banks, to me, is the best left tackle in the country, along with Will Campbell from LSU. Those are the 2 best guys. Those are top 10 type picks. But an offensive line is a unit. It is a unit. It is not one guy. It's not your left tackle saying, I thought I played pretty well. I would have hoped that Kelvin would have said, hey, as a unit, we didn't play well overall. We gave up 7 sacks. What you saying? Talking about you played pretty well. your guys gave up 7 sacks.
Yeah.
When has an offensive line ever been about one guy? And I know Kelvin is very unselfish, and he was asked a question and he answered it honestly, and I respect that young man. But anytime you give up 7 sacks, I mean, you rush for 29 yards on 27 carries. What about that says the offensive line played well? It's the Joe Moore Award. It's given to the unit, not the left tackle. So, and I haven't gone back and watched the game again, but Kelvin Banks plays well every game. But that sack was credited to him, and then he gave up the ghost at the end.
Yeah.
On the strip sack. So so I know he didn't play great. As a unit, the Longhorns did not play great. And I bet Kyle Flood didn't say he played great. Kyle Flood saw an offensive line that got steamrolled in front of 105,000 people and parents and recruits in your own
prime time.
In prime time in front of millions and millions of people. So, yeah, that doesn't carry with me. And I think Kelvin Banks is going to make a lot of money. I think Cam Williams has made himself some money this year. But overall, if they play like that in every game, they're not going to be in the CFP. You're only as good as your quarterback and your offensive line and your defensive line. You can plug holes everywhere else. But if you're not elite in those 3 areas, you're gonna have problems.
Deon, anything else before we let Cedric go?
No, I mean, they have this is a good, as my teacher used to say, come to Jesus meeting for Texas. To let them know that, hey, we in the SEC now. This ain't it's not Big 12. This is the SEC, and I'm excited to see if they can bounce back from this loss. Hopefully this helps them trend in the right direction.
Let me tell you guys, in most years, a game against Vandy after a loss is like Mary Poppins, a spoonful of medicine. A spoonful of sugar helps that medicine go down, and that usually was a bounce back gig. This ain't that bounce back type gig anymore. Vanderbilt's 5-2, and Vanderbilt's they've had maybe one winning SEC season, or maybe 2 since 1959. I mean,
it's been bad.
They're rough, man. They've been rough on the nerds over there, man. The nerds been getting stuffed in the lockers over there in the SEC. The nerds are feeling like, you know what? And if they were just a couple of plays away from beating Missouri. They lost in double overtime. Yeah. Or else Vanderbilt would be unbeaten in the SEC. So, coming in, I was like, they'll beat Vanderbilt and blah, blah, blah. We don't know that now. I'm picking them to beat Vanderbilt, but it might not be a walk in the park. I think they'll bounce back, but Vanderbilt's not going to just give it to them. So Texas is going to have to play way better than they did. and Quinn particularly is going to have to figure it out, or else we're going to be talking about somebody else playing quarterback.
Yeah, and Vanderbilt also had the hometown kid from Austin, Cedric Alexander, at running back, who I'm sure wants to get into the end zone against his hometown team that didn't give him an offer, by the way. So, yeah.
That's true, man. They've done a better job of recruiting the city. You know, Michael Taft got some walk-on love. Jade Barron from the city. Alfred Collins.
Bossick.
Colton, Ethan Berg. So they've done a better job, but they're still. Michael Taft said it. Hey, they don't always recruit us that much in Austin, but Cedric is a big time player, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Texas does against him, because Vanderbilt guys, they take the air out of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
They slow it down. They run in them four corners. They run the shot clock down to 2 seconds, and then they jacking it up. They're not trying to give Texas extra possessions on offense, and if they win time of possession, it's going to be an interesting game. You can win time of possession and lose, but if they're grinding it out and Cedric runs for 120, 130 yards, Longhorns going to have some problems.
Yeah, man, it's going to be a big-time matchup on Saturday. Can't wait, and just talk to a big-time journalist in Cedric Golden. So thank you so much, Ced, for joining the pod and taking your time out of your day to do that.
Man, my pleasure. Good to talk to you guys.
Ced's just one of those old heads that just know what the heck he's talking about, and he's going to say it how it is, and I really respect that about him. And also the kind words. Wasn't expecting that either, but love that from Ced. What'd you like about our conversation?
I love that he kind of predicted, and it seems like to me the sentiment with a lot of people, that this is going to be the one loss that Texas takes. And like I say, this is kind of their wake-up moment. So it's good to know that, not everybody was expecting them to beat Georgia. I don't think nobody was expecting it to be like this. But, we're expecting them to bounce back. And, he kind of set the tone like, hey, it's not that they also don't have just this easy road after this Georgia game. Like, some of these next couple games are going to be with quality opponents. Even the teams that are not as good, they're going to get up to play Texas. So they have a good little road ahead of them if they want to get out of this little rut, this little one-game rut, this little stinker they had. What about you, Cory?
Yeah, on that topic, I love the story that he shared about his trip to Arkansas and how it felt like he was the Central High School kids back in the day going to the first day of school in an integrated setting, I should say. I can't imagine if he compared it to that. Arkansas must be crazy out there, dude. Like, I don't want to go out there.
The hate runs deep.
I don't want to go out to Fayetteville, bro. Not gonna lie to you, bro. So that's gonna be an interesting matchup in a couple weeks, man. Going out to Arkansas, because he's right. Arkansas, they've had a couple good games. I mean, they beat Tennessee, and so Tennessee just beat Alabama. So it's this whole conference. It's a melting pot of talent, and a lot of people didn't expect that. Like you mentioned, Deon, before the season, people thought Georgia would be the team that Texas would probably lose to. But then coming into last week, the narrative was, no, Texas can beat Georgia. And you see how things can change in a matter of weeks. And everyone thought Bama was going to be still Bama going into this year. Now they have 2 losses on the record. People thought Ole Miss was going to be I guess you could say the what's the word I'm looking for? The dark horse in the standings when it comes to SEC play. And they already have 2 losses. And who would have thought A&M would be at the top of the SEC standings this deep into the season? I sure didn't. I thought A&M was going to be trash this year, not going to lie. So it's these little factors within this conference that makes it so interesting. And now we get another taste of it as Texas goes up to Nashville to play the Commodores. So it's going to be great college football on Saturday. I can't wait. And I can't wait to see how Texas responds, because it's a big-time situation that you're in. Will you come out and prove that last week you just lost against a really good team, or are you going to prove that we may have seen some chink in the armor against Vanderbilt? So only those can be answered on the field, those questions, and it's going to be answered on Saturday. But in the meantime, right now, Deon, let's transition over to NFL as we had our Pick'em series again, week 8, as we head into that, and a lot of great matchups on the NFL schedule. And I mean, dang, bro, like every single week there's a new storyline. And, of course, today with D-Hop going to the Kansas City Chiefs, that's going to be crazy to think about how now Patrick Mahomes has a legit weapon that he can use outside of Travis Kelce, Juju Smith-Schuster, who didn't even play last week, by the way. He only had throw the ball to Xavier Worthy. Xavier didn't have a big game. I just don't understand how Patrick and these boys continue to win when they don't have weapons and when they don't even put up good stat lines. Like, if you look at this box score, Pat didn't even have a great stat line. But at the end of the day, they find a way to win. And now you add a piece like D-Hop, that's scary. But let's just go within a week-by-week basis. Of course, let's start off with the team that just won on prime time. And, man, it looked like a sensational win, dominant win by the Baltimore Ravens as they beat Tampa Bay. And also took some bodies with them. Oh, my God. Mike Evans out. Chris Godwin out. It's just like, golly, just killing these boys, man, while you beat them at their home turf. So Baltimore's legit. And this week they have Cleveland. Now, mind you, no more Deshaun Watson. So it's looking like Jameis Winston will be the starter for the Cleveland Browns after his whole rant about supporting Deshaun. Before we get in, what do you think about that? I didn't get your thoughts on that. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't. Well, wait, the fans or it's Jameis?
No, Jameis. What do you think about Jameis comments?
Oh no, it's hard to take him serious, but he has a point. But right person, wrong message. He just goofy. He just, I don't know. Him being serious is just funny. But he made good points. Like, I think it's corny that you're cheering for somebody that towards Achilles. Like, as bad as he's played, it's not cool. So
yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. I was actually talking to a Browns fan who, not a Browns fan. He's from Cleveland, but he doesn't rep the Browns. He's part of our media circle here in Austin, and he hated that Jameis said that, and he felt like that was stupid for him to say. And there's a lot of sentiments around the whole comments with Jameis Winston, and just about how you're supporting a guy with all these allegations and all these settlements. And at the end of the day, though, I am a big believer in loving everyone, no matter what they've done, because we all have things that we've done in our past or things that we're doing right now that is in the dark or in the closet. And just because it hasn't come to light doesn't make you a good person. So I just think that everyone has faults. And so we're called to love everyone. And I think Jameis showed that in that moment, that he still loves his teammate, no matter what he's done in the past, but also what he's doing in the present, and just going out on the field every day. And, someone had a negative connotation towards like how Jameis said Deshaun's putting his body on the line every day. He said, you're getting paid millions of dollars, so are you really putting your body on the line? I think that's BS too. It's like, yes, you're getting paid millions of dollars, but you're still risking lifetime. Look at Tua. I mean, come on. Like, you're risking lifetime injuries to your physical body. So it doesn't matter if you're getting paid millions if you can't even enjoy it or spend it 5 years from now. So I don't know. I have mixed emotions about it, and I think people need to understand that this is. It's a game, yes, but it's so dangerous. Every single play, you can lose your life. I don't think it's tough to say that. Look at DeMar. Yeah, look at DeMar.
We've seen it every game. We've seen it
every game. Every game. You can lose your life playing this game. So the fact that, it's crazy. It's crazy. And the fact that they're getting paid millions, yes, I understand that. And we all wish we were getting paid millions to do our job, but we aren't, because our jobs don't risk. You going to your 9 to 5 at your cubicle doesn't risk you losing your life. Unless it's an active shooter, but that's a whole nother conversation. But yes, let's go back into the NFL pick'em as I get off my rant on that. Baltimore Ravens versus Cleveland Browns, 9.5 point spread. Baltimore, do you think they cover 9.5? That's a lot of points, Deon.
Yeah, of course. Because Cleveland just don't have enough, man. And they got rid of the receiver. They just lost the quarterback. You're rocking with Jameis and Njoku. I don't think it's enough.
But they got Nick Chubb.
Yeah, but I don't think, I just don't think he'll be close to the goal line to really make an impact. And,
that's fair.
Dude just came off a crazy ACL injury last year, and you coming back and now you got to be a workhorse. I would love to say, hey, I would love to ease my way back into the offense, and now I got to come in and run the ball 30 times. Yeah, give me Ravens to cover.
It's a good story. I will say that with Chubb. It was happy for him to reach the end zone after that horrific injury last year and coming back. And, this isn't the first time he tore his ACL. Remember, he tore it in Georgia. I believe it's his third time tearing his ACL. Like, it's been tough sledding for Nick Chubb. But, look, scored a touchdown first game back. He's just that dude, bro. He's just that dude. But I also have the Ravens covering that -9.5 versus Cleveland. Next matchup, even a bigger spread, 10.5. Detroit Lions versus Tennessee Titans. Don't know if Will Levis is healthy enough to play, so it could be another Mason Rudolph appearance. Detroit is coming off big time win. And I called it too last week against the Vikings. These guys are tough, and they arguably may be the best team in the NFC right now. And I think they are. I'm going to put it on record. I think the Lions are. And so 10.5 points is a lot of points in the NFL, though, because the other side of the ball, they do get paid, and they are grown men as well. But still, the Lions are good, and the Titans aren't. So you think Lions covered this 10.5?
Yeah, give me the Lions. I think they're going to be putting out some trick plays again, throwing it to the linemen. Yeah, give me the Lions.
Yeah, I got Lions as well, covering that 10.5. Next up, Houston. They're coming off a loss. 5.5 point spread, though, against their division rival, Indianapolis Colts, who also got their quarterback back, Anthony Richardson. He didn't look great, but they still won a game against Miami last week. Houston, 5.5 point spread versus the Colts. I got Houston covering. I think it's a get-right game for them after losing to Green Bay in a horrible fashion, horrible time management. Deon, you think they cover?
Of course. Unless Anthony Richardson just has an efficient game, yeah, Houston should easily cover this. This should be an easy cover for the week. What about,
now, mind you, last time Anthony played against his defense, his best game of the season, week 1. So maybe he has some type of formula to beat this Texans defense. Who knows? But it will be interesting as the Texans have the Colts at home. And so that 5.5, that may be playing a factor there. You're going to say something else, Deon? I'm sorry for cutting you off.
Nah, give me the Texans. Next, we got Green Bay and Jacksonville.
Okay.
We got Green Bay as the 4.5 favorite. Who you got?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Green Bay. After watching them against the Texans, that defense is better than I thought it was. I mean, they're flying around. They're able to have immense pressure on C.J. Stroud last week. Now, mind you, I don't know if that was more the offensive line for the Texans or if it was a Green Bay Packers scheme. But either way, you got to the quarterback against C.J., and he was running for his life all day long. And so I think Jordan Love is able to get some more rapport with his wide receivers that he gets back from his injury. And I just think that Jacksonville just isn't a good team. I mean, at the end of the day, they're just not a good football team. So I think Packers do cover that 4.5.
Yeah, I don't have any faith in Trevor. He's kind of lost his faith. So yeah, give me Green Bay. Definitely think they're going to cover. I think they're going to put up a lot of points too. So it's going to
okay, sounds good. Take the over in that one. I like that one. Losing faith. I lost all faith in this team, but I'm still picking them to cover this week. What is wrong with me? New York Jets versus the New England Patriots. Jets are coming off an abysmal performance against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, you get a star piece like Devontae Adams. You're going against a quarterback in Russell Wilson who's making his first start of the season, and you got bulldozed on prime time. Like, oh my God, it looked bad. So Jets 6.5 point favorites though after that performance against Pittsburgh. Now, mind you, they're playing New England, who also is just arguably the worst team in the NFL. So, Deon, 6.5 points, is that too many points to cover against the Patriots?
You know, sadly, this is kind of a pick I don't want to make. I don't have faith in either one of these teams, but unfortunately, I guess I'm going to go with the Jets. The last time they played New England, they blew them out, so I'm expecting the same thing. The Jets just don't have nothing on offense. So I'm hoping that, the Patriots don't have nothing on offense. I'm hoping the Jets can get something going. I think this will be something that we sweat out the whole game, but I think they'll cover the 6.5.
Yeah, I agree, man. I just don't like this matchup at all. But the Jets have to win. Like, they have to, if they want to stay in this playoff race to win their division, they have to win this game against a division rival. So that's why I'm thinking they're gonna cover the 6.5. And so next matchup, Atlanta, they're underdogs versus the Tampa Bay squad, which is weird to me because Tampa Bay just lost their top 2 receivers, but they're still favorites against Atlanta as they are coming off a loss to the Seattle Seahawks. Atlanta, 2.5 point underdogs. Do they cover that?
Easily.
Easily.
I think either Cade Otton is about to have a career day, or Kirk is gonna go in their trap to take over the trap. So
I like that.
I think Atlanta covers this pretty easily. I'm actually, I'm gonna say that for later, but yeah, I got Atlanta to cover this.
Okay, say less. Yeah, I got Atlanta too. I got I just think this offense is high powered for this Tampa Bay defense who got shredded by Lamar and Derrick Henry. And so also, I don't know how Baker's going to move the ball. Now, mind you, Baker's been having a sensational year. Props to him. Shout out Lake Travis. He's been having a sensational year with those weapons, but now you don't have those weapons. So how does that all play out? I'm interested to see. But right now, I'm going to put my money with Atlanta. Next up, Cincinnati versus Philadelphia. Both of these teams are coming off dubs. Philly, though, it's a weird situation, and this is why I got Cincinnati covering this 2.5, because they've won, but they beat the Browns and they beat the Giants in the last 2 games. Both teams are god-awful. So how much do we really know about Philly? Are they just playing bad teams? This isn't a bad team. Cincinnati's a good team who's starting to figure this thing out. So I got them covering 2.5. Bengals, that is. They are the favorites. Deon, do you have them covering 2.5 as well?
I just for pick'em's sake, I'm gonna go with Eagles. I do think since I would pick Cincinnati, but for pick'em's sake, I want to get one up over you. I think go Eagles. I think that since he's got AJ Brown back, he's got his weapons back. He's not gonna play as bad. I'm hoping. So yeah, I'm gonna pick the Eagles.
Okay, they have been playing well with A.J. Brown back and Devontae Smith. So, I mean, you're not lying there. A.J. Brown's been phenomenal ever since he's gotten back healthy. So, that's going to be an interesting game. Real interesting game. So, next up, this will not be an interesting game. I will not be turning this on, but we got to talk about it. New Orleans Saints versus the Los Angeles Chargers. Saints are 7.5-point underdogs. Chargers are coming off a win over the Raiders. But it's the Raiders. So, I mean, it's whatever. New Orleans 7.5. Do they cover underdogs?
Another game I don't care to pick. I'm gonna go with LA. From what I saw from Spencer Rattler, it looks like he's gonna be playing again. He didn't look too good, so I'm just gonna hope that LA can cover. And yeah, I'm rocking with LA. What about you?
Yeah, my apologies. I said Chargers are coming off a win to the Raiders. I had to look it up because that just felt wrong. They're coming off a loss to the Arizona Cardinals, 17-15. And that's why I have New Orleans covering, because I just don't think the Chargers can score. They have a really good defense. They have actually the number 1 defense when it comes to points per game given up. And I thought that stat was crazy, by the way. I was like, when did the Chargers get a number 1 defense? But either way, you can stop people, but you can't score. And that's been their problem. So 7.5 points is a big spread for me for a team that can't put the ball into the end zone. So that's why I have the Saints covering that 7.5 points as the underdogs. Next up, Buffalo -3.5 versus Seattle. Seattle's coming off a big time performance against Atlanta, but they lost DK Metcalf in that game. And so I have Buffalo covering -3.5. Amari Cooper looks to be right in with the team right now. They scored a touchdown in the first game with Buffalo, and he looks to be a part with this offense. So that's good to see. Who do you have?
Yeah, I gotta go Buffalo. That DK injury is going to be huge. But yeah, I mean, Josh Allen can you say he's a number 1 receiver, Mari, for Josh Allen now?
Yeah.
I think he got a number 1 receiver. Keon Coleman actually started playing good now that he's, I guess, a number 2. So yeah, I think Buffalo secures this 3.5 pretty easily.
Yeah, that Keon Coleman now not having that blanket coverage over him. Now he has more one-on-one matchups, has helped him get a little bit more separation on the DBs. And you saw it in the first game with Amari. Was able to pop off for over 5 catches. I believe he got over 100 yards as well in that game last week. So that's real interesting development over there in Buffalo. And you spoke about injuries. What's up?
Oh, wait. Don't
What's
forget
up?
this matchup. I know you skimmed over this matchup. Arizona and Miami. I know it's an ugly game.
Did not write that down.
You skipped over that one.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I got it. Oh, say it. You got it. Take it over.
Miami is the 3.5 favorite versus the Cardinals. Cardinals are coming from did they win this weekend?
Cardinals, yeah, they beat the Chargers 17-15.
Cardinals, yeah, they got a win. Wow, congrats.
They got a win. Cardinals aren't bad, bro. I don't think the Cardinals are bad. I really don't. They're 3-4. They're a decent team. They beat the 49ers. Let's not forget a couple weeks ago. They did beat the 49ers.
Yeah, but their losses they haven't looked good in their losses. So
Yeah.
their losses are really bad losses. Their wins are like, okay, you won. But if I had to pick, if I'm a betting man, you're telling me that Tua's supposed to be coming back.
Tua will be back.
Tyreek gets more active. Waddle gets more active. Hopefully it's the same Tua before he got the injury. So, yeah, I think Miami will cover this 3.5. What you got?
I wrote down Arizona, and I already submitted it. So, don't know why I did that. I thought I told my brain I need to pick Miami in this one, but I didn't. So let's go Arizona plus 3.5. I can make an argument for both, though. I think Arizona's been able to get the ball rolling on offense. Now, mind you, Marvin Harrison hasn't looked like the top 10 pick like Malik Neighbors has, per se, but they're still able to figure some things out with him. I also think that Arizona's defense, they're not that bad. And so first game back with Tua, how healthy is he? Before he got hurt, he wasn't that great. So I'm going to go Arizona plus 3.5. And we'll just roll with it because that's what I picked. But if I were to do it all over again, I would do Miami. Anyways, let's move on to the next matchup. Talking about injuries, by the way, to quarterbacks. Washington lost Jaden Daniels last week. Marcus Mariota comes in the game, scores 2 touchdowns, looks great. I believe that was against Carolina, though. So how much does that really mean anything? You know what I'm saying? It's Carolina. So this week they have the Chicago Bears defense, which is a top tier defense. Can Mariota have the same type of offensive output as he did against Carolina? I don't know, because Chicago was good. And Chicago, they're 2.5 point favorites over the Washington Commanders. And so I have the Bears covering this 2.5 points. Before their bye week, Caleb Williams was looking like he's figuring things out. He had a phenomenal game. And so you have a week to prepare. Now you're also preparing against a lesser talent of Jaden Daniels. So now you got to prepare against Marcus Mariota. I think that only benefits Chicago. So I have Chicago covering that 2.5 point. What do you have, Deon?
Yeah, give me Caleb. For fantasy sakes and for pick'em sakes, I'm hoping that Caleb continues this stretch of looking like the number 1 pick that we all thought he would be. And again, hopefully, his touchdowns aren't going to Cole Kmet and one of DJ Moore. So yeah, give me Chicago to cover, being the favorites minus 2.5.
I don't know how many touchdowns are going to be scored in this game. Denver versus Carolina. Denver's 4.5 point favorites over Carolina. I have Denver covering just because Carolina sucks. And Denver's defense is really good. I don't know why the line is 4.5. I get it. Bo Nix isn't that great. But he threw some touchdowns against New Orleans. And so he looked decent enough. But 4.5 points with this defense, I can see the defense scoring a touchdown in this game against Carolina. So I have them covering the 4.5. Deon, do you have the same?
Yeah, you got. Yeah, I got the same. But dang, why you saying like the red rifle not back there?
I mean, I don't know if he will be. He got in a car crash this week. I don't know if you've seen that.
Dang, what?
Yeah.
No way. Are you serious? Oh yeah, that's the case. That's the case.
He was involved in a car crash yesterday. So his family was in the car. His wife, his kids were all in the car. Everyone came out okay. They didn't need like emergency ambulance or anything. But he was in a car crash, so I don't know how healthy he's going to be on Sunday. But either if the Red Rifle does play or not, they just got beat 40-7 to Washington with a backup quarterback. 40-7, Deon. This defense can't stop a cold, bro. They can't stop a bloody nose. Like
there's some money. There's some money in these games. I definitely
no facts, bro.
I got a good parlay I'm gonna pick up after this. What?
Facts, bro. Facts.
Oh, yeah.
It's only 4.5. I don't know why it's only 4.5, bro. Anyways, let's move on. This is surprising to me. Kansas City's 9.5 point favorites over the Las Vegas Raiders. Raiders, this is going to be their Super Bowl. Let's not forget, y'all. Before the season started, in the preseason, remember that puppet that they had of Patrick Mahomes, saying like, do you remember that? That was the Raiders. That was the Raiders. Yeah. This is their Super Bowl. So 9.5 points is a lot of points, but when you know that this team cares deeply about this matchup with the Chiefs, that's what made me kind of wary about taking the Chiefs in this 9.5. But at the end of the day, the Raiders do suck. Let's not forget that they are a bad football team. So I'm gonna go with Kansas City Chiefs -9.5. They get D-Hop, and so we can get into that after this. But Deon, who do you have?
Yeah, I got the Chiefs. I mean, they've proven that Patrick Mahomes don't got to do anything, and they're gonna win. They're gonna win by double digits. So yeah, give me the Chiefs. Sorry, Raiders. 9.5. It's crazy line. It's a lot of points, but yeah, they're gonna cover.
Yeah. It's a lot of points, but it should help with their new acquisition. DeAndre Hopkins is now a Kansas City Chief. All they had to do was give up a 5th-round pick that could become a 4th-round pick. And also, the Tennessee Titans are still paying the majority of DeAndre Hopkins' salary. And that was a big topic of conversation when it comes to trade negotiations. As reports have come out about this whole situation, Chiefs, Deon, crazy enough, Chiefs were exploring the options of getting Cooper Kupp. But the problem was they didn't want to give up a 2nd-round pick, and also the Rams weren't willing to pay the majority of Kupp's remaining contract. But instead, the Titans were okay with that, and the Titans were also okay with only getting a 5th-round pick in return. So they said, "Bet we'll get D-Hop." And so with this, first off, let's touch the Kupp thing. They would have got Kupp, bro. Oh my god. Oh my god. They would have got Kupp. They would have got Kupp. That would have been crazy. But
it's wild that they find a way to every other year to get a different receiver through a trade.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can't believe teams are still trading with them. Like that blows my mind every year.
you make a good point, bro.
I wouldn't trade.
They should be blackballed. Like anytime you see Kansas City Chiefs on the line, don't pick up. Like it should be like a NFL-wide mandate. Like all NFL owners and GMs, do not pick up the phone when you see a Kansas City number. Please don't, because they're going to swindle you. And like last year, you mentioned Kadarius Toney was one of those guys that they got in the middle of the season. Mind you, he didn't live up to that, right? But at the end of the day, he did have some big time plays. Remember the lateral that he had? That was a whole debacle, though.
And that's all they really be needing. They just be needing a couple plays from you. You don't gotta be no star.
Yeah.
You don't gotta come here and do nothing crazy. We're just looking for you to make that 1 or 2 plays at one game. And I mean, we're gonna find a way to do everything else. So, I mean, D-Hop, I think he's healthy from the knee, the MCL injury. So they're probably not gonna look for him to do nothing crazy. He's not gonna go there and be no 150-yard guy every game. But we just need you to make that one catch in that one game versus against the Ravens, and they're gonna say, "Oh yeah, that's all we need you for."
That's why we got D-Hop. That's all they need is that moment where they can say, that's exactly why we got D-Hop. And I can see that happening pretty soon. I mean, if you look at what he can do, right? And this is a similar situation to Amari Cooper coming to Buffalo, in my eyes. Amari comes to Buffalo, look what happens with Keon Coleman's production. It just gets ballooned because now the defense isn't worried primarily on Keon. So now I'm interested when it comes to Xavier Worthy, right? With his speed, you're going to have to pay attention to D-Hop. You have to, because he's D-Hop. How does that affect Xavier Worthy's blanket coverage down the field? Will that open up things for deep shots for Xavier? Also, Juju Smith-Schuster, as he recovers from his hamstring, how does that play a factor in? Because the one game he was healthy for, Juju went crazy. So once he gets healthy, once D-Hop is out there, Travis Kelce and Xavier, now you're looking at a wide receiving group that does pose a threat, that does look kind of dangerous. After losing a Rashee Rice, after losing a Hollywood Brown, they still retooled and reloaded to now you still have an offensive core that is kind of scary. And Pacheco should be coming back in the next couple of weeks. I just don't understand how this team continues to do it. And on the flip side of things, they have a really, really, really good defense, and no one talks about them. But they held San Francisco to just 18 points. So, this team is just looking like they're on their track to three-peat. And I don't see anyone else stopping them unless it's a catastrophic injury that continues to bug them. But other than that, like with this team that they've assembled right now, they're just going to keep the ball rolling as they're the only undefeated team left in the league for a reason. And a lot of that has to do with this roster assimilation, but also Andy Reid and also Patrick Mahomes running over people in the end zone. Like it's just these small plays that signifies why the Chiefs are the Chiefs. And these moves like this signify why they've been so dominant over the last 4 or 5 years. But yeah, I know. Big sigh. I don't care though. I like dynasties. I don't know if you're a dynasty guy, but I like being able to say that I watched these guys growing up, or I watched these guys as an adult, and tell my kids that yeah, the Chiefs were legit and no one could stop them. Just like the Warriors. Like, yeah, that time with the Warriors, you couldn't stop that team. They were going to win the championship. We all knew it. No matter how much we want to say, oh, the Rockets could beat them, or the Lakers have a shot. No, it's the Warriors, or even Cleveland at the time. Oh man, Cleveland, they got LeBron and they got LeBron. I mean, that's at the time, that's all they really had. You know, they had the year with Kyrie, you know, but when Kyrie left, it was just like LeBron. And J.R. Smith jacking up shots. So yeah, I just think that it's cool to watch dynasties, and just like how New England Patriots did their thing, now the Chiefs are doing their thing. They're doing it even better. So shout out to Kansas City. We need to have my boy Harold Kuntz back on pretty soon, as I mentioned that. Sure. But let's move on to the next game. San Francisco versus Dallas.
I'm calling the ambulance. Right?
I'm sorry, Dallas. I mean, if the 49ers would have won last week, I may have picked Dallas. I'm not going to lie. If they would have won last week, if they would have got the monkey off their back and beat the Chiefs, I would have picked Dallas. But the fact that they got manhandled, and the fact that now they're getting embarrassed on social media, Mustafa, getting embarrassed on social media after Patrick Mahomes runs him over. Then the other play, when Patrick does that on the sideline where he stops, defender goes right past him and he keeps going for a 30-yard gain. Those plays are getting replayed on social media, and they're watching it. And their next victim is going to be Dallas, and they're going to release all of their tension on the Cowboys. And I just don't see how Dallas covers this 4.5 points. I just don't see it. Deon, do you maybe see a game where that happens?
No, you're asking the wrong guy. No, I'm with you, buddy. It's gonna be another butt whooping. They're at the San Fran's at the crib. Yeah, they finna have a good bounce back week against the Cowboys. We finna hear Jerry talking back to somebody else next week. So yeah, it's gonna be another butt whooping right here. And they got this. Oh, this is a Sunday night game, so this is national TV. All eyes on
prime time.
Yeah,
prime time.
They running it back, and they finna have a good time with Dallas. So yeah, San Fran 4.5. Yeah, I get that. Lock me in.
Yeah, and you know, you spoke about Jerry talking on the radio earlier this week. He literally said, "What type of talent you gonna get this time of the year? What's out there? What's out there for this time of the year? What's out there to get for this team? This is the team we got. This is the roster." D-Hop goes to Kansas City for.
It's crazy. Every time he talks, something happens just right after.
Literally 2 days later, D-Hop goes to Kansas City for a 5th-round pick, bro. Like that's what talent is out there, Jerry Jones. But anyways, I'm not a Cowboys fan, just so y'all know. I just hate to see them like get berated every single week like this, because it's not fun anymore. It's kind of sad. Next up, last matchup. Last matchup, Pittsburgh versus New York Giants. Oh man, Russell Wilson used to be comedy every week, but now he's a hero of Pittsburgh. -5.5. They are the favorites. The Steelers are versus the Giants. Daniel Jones got benched, but I guess he's a starter again, just like Quinn Ewers on Saturday. Who do you have, Deon? Steelers versus Giants.
Give me Pittsburgh. Whoever plays whoever's the quarterback, Russell. What's the other dude's name? I can't even remember.
Justin Fields.
Justin Fields. Whoever's the quarterback, I think they'll be able to handle the Giants. Daniel Jones has proven that he can't figure it out. So yeah, give me Pittsburgh. They're at the crib. I think Pittsburgh's defense is going to be
phenomenal.
They finna have his name tatted somewhere because they finna be all over him. Who you got?
Yeah, I got Pittsburgh too. TJ Watt is the defensive player of the year in my mind right now. I mean, he wreaks havoc every single play. It's not even fair. And I'm kind of biased because I'm a Houston fan, so I watched J.J. Watt do his thing, won defensive player of the year multiple times. Now his little brother's doing the same thing. I think that's so dope. They may be the most, like, athletic NFL family of all time. Because remember, their other brother, Derek Watt, was a fullback for a long time. I don't know if he's in the league now, but he definitely had a long career for the Chargers at fullback. So, I mean, that whole – what do you feed those kids growing up? Like, I don't know what the heck. How do you groom 3 NFL players to be not only NFL players, but the best in the league. So, Watt family, let me know what that routine is so I can tell my kids whenever I get some. But let's get out of here, man. It's been a long pod. So, final thoughts, Deon?
Final thoughts. Final thoughts. What's final thoughts? Final thoughts is going to be the NBA season is back. I'm a Thunder fan officially. Shout out to my boys at OKC. Let's make it happen. And if we have anybody out there with some good parlays in the NBA, let me know. Let's get to the money. What about you, Corey?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with NBA as well. Congratulations to Bronny and Bron last night. Was able to do their thing, be the first father-son duo to share the court in the NBA. I think people need to understand that it was the moment, love the moment, appreciate the moment, and now Bronny needs to go to the G League. All right, let's just keep it at that. All right, we had a good moment. We had a good claps. We had good pictures. We had good videos. Now let's make sure Bronny develops and he doesn't stay on the end of that bench and get ridiculed on social media. Let's get him away from a spotlight and let him grow and develop as an NBA player, and he needs to do that in the G League. So please, 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 Lakers, don't force this anymore. Let him go to the G League and develop. But anyways, that's it for the pod. Mose Knows. Thank you so much for listening in to another episode. As always, Deon, let's end this mug with a bang.
We hope you enjoyed that episode. Stay up to date with Mose Knows by subscribing to Cory Mose on YouTube or simply searching Mose Knows on Spotify or Apple Music. Thanks for listening and have a great week.